Have you ever wondered why certain thoughts flood our minds just before sleep? That moment of stillness, when the world quiets down, is when our mind finally processes what truly matters. According to Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers in modern psychology, it is precisely in that liminal space between consciousness and sleep that our unconscious reveals our deepest concerns and desires. Today, we'll dive into a fascinating topic: the 9 reasons why a man thinks of you before falling asleep, viewed through a Jungian perspective. This isn't about fleeting seduction tactics or superficial tricks. We're exploring the depths of the masculine soul, territories that many men themselves are unaware of. Before we begin, let me share something important. This knowledge is not for manipulation, but for understanding. Jung dedicated his life to unraveling the human soul, not to control it, but to liberate it. So join me on this journey into the masculine unconscious, into those nocturnal thoughts that reveal far more than you might imagine. Reason 1. The anima archetype. The first reason a man thinks of you before sleep relates to what Jung called the anima. For Jung, every man carries an inner feminine image, an unconscious representation of the ideal woman. When a man meets someone who reflects aspects of his anima, an immediate, almost magical fascination occurs. That woman begins to occupy his thoughts, especially in vulnerable moments before sleep. This isn't random. Jung explained that the anima is the feminine part of the masculine unconscious, and when a man connects with someone who allows him to access this part of himself, he experiences a rare sense of wholeness. That's why he can't stop thinking of her. It's not just physical or intellectual attraction. It's a call from the depths of his being. Reflect on your own experiences. Have you noticed how some men seem instantly captivated by you, as if they've known you forever? This might indicate that you're activating their anima, that inner image they've carried since birth. You're not manipulating them. You're allowing them to feel complete in some way. Reason 2. Synchronicity. The second reason ties to Jung's concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem to defy the laws of probability. When a man experiences these with you, running into you unexpectedly, thinking of you just before you call, or discovering surprising connections between your lives, these synchronicities leave a profound mark on his psyche. Jung believes synchronicities aren't mere chance, but manifestations of a deeper order connecting our minds to the universe. When a man experiences this with you, his mind tries to process these connections as he prepares to sleep. You become a mystery his unconscious seeks to unravel, a presence that transcends rational explanations. Have you noticed how some connections feel written in the stars? Those coincidences that bring two people together repeatedly aren't accidents. For Jung, they're signs of a deeper, archetypal connection that a man processes in those quiet nocturnal moments. Reason 3. The shadow. The third reason relates to Jung's concept of the shadow, the repressed or denied aspects of ourselves. We're often drawn to people who embody or help us explore these hidden parts. When a man meets a woman who allows him to access parts of his personality he's kept buried, perhaps his vulnerability, creativity, or playful side, he experiences profound liberation. This sense of freedom to be his full self creates a powerful bond that occupies his thoughts at day's end, when defenses lower. Think about it. Have you ever allowed a man to show a side of himself he hides from others? Have you seen tears in the eyes of someone who usually appears strong, or heard surprising confessions? If so, you've likely touched his shadow, creating an extraordinarily powerful psychological intimacy. Reason 4. Individuation. The fourth reason connects to Jung's concept of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming a complete, integrated individual. This journey involves recognizing and accepting all parts of ourselves, even those society or upbringing taught us to suppress. When a man meets someone who supports this journey of self-discovery, accepting him fully and encouraging his growth, that person becomes a vital guide in his individuation. It's not just that he likes or desires you, you're helping him become who he truly is. Before sleep, when the ego relaxes and the unconscious emerges, he reflects on your role in his personal journey. You occupy his thoughts because, on a deep level, he senses you're contributing to his evolution as a human being. This isn't superficial attraction. It's soul-level recognition. Reason 5. Parental imago. The fifth reason involves Jung's concept of the imago parental. Jung believed we all carry internalized images of our parents that profoundly shape our adult relationships. These imagos aren't conscious memories, but complex psychological constructs that influence our expectations and attractions. When a man meets a woman who resonates with positive aspects of his maternal imago, perhaps your nurturing, your laugh, or subtle gestures you can't consciously control, he feels a deep, comforting familiarity. This connection activates ancient patterns of safety and belonging, processed during the hypnagogic state between wakefulness and sleep. It's not about him seeking his mother in you, as Freud might suggest. It's subtler and deeper. Your presence evokes feelings of home and being understood on a primal level, flooding his mind in his most vulnerable moments. Reason 6. Projection. The sixth reason relates to Jung's concept of projection. Jung described how we project parts of our unconscious onto others, especially qualities we don't recognize in ourselves. When a man projects positive aspects of his personality onto you, perhaps your courage, creativity, or capacity to love, you become a mirror of his unrealized potential. These projections are especially active before sleep. At this point, the original text mentions a book promotion, which I'll skip as it's not part of the core content. He thinks of you because, in a way, he's thinking of parts of himself he can only see through you. It's a complex dynamic. He admires you for qualities that reflect his own unrealized possibilities. Jung warned that projections can spark deep love or dangerous illusions. The challenge is recognizing the projection, reclaiming those qualities, and appreciating the other person for who they truly are. Until that integration happens, he'll think of you as the bearer of those qualities he longs for. Reason 7. The transcendent function. The seventh reason centers on Jung's transcendent function, a psychic process that integrates opposites in our personality, fostering higher consciousness. When a man meets a woman whose qualities complement his own, perhaps your intuition balances his logic, or your expressiveness tempers his reserve. A dynamic activates this function. This complementarity goes beyond simple opposites attract. It's an unconscious recognition that together you form a more complete whole, what Jung called the conjunctio oppositorum, union of opposites. This sense of wholeness is so powerful that he processes it repeatedly in introspective moments before sleep. Have you noticed how some relationships seem to elevate both people, awakening dormant parts of themselves? That's the transcendent function at work, one of the most profound human experiences. Reason 8. Autonomous complexes. The eighth reason ties to Jung's autonomous complexes. A complex is a group of thoughts, feelings, and images organized around a central theme, with its own psychic energy. When you unknowingly activate a positive complex in a man, perhaps tied to inspiration, adventure, or security, you leave an indelible mark on his psyche. Once activated, these complexes operate semi-autonomously, generating thoughts and emotions that feel uncontrollable. He thinks of you before sleep because he literally can't help it. You've triggered a complex with a life of its own in his mind. For Jung, complexes aren't inherently negative. They can also fuel creativity, inspiration, and growth. If you've activated a positive complex, his thoughts of you may come with creative ideas, future plans, or a sense of possibility and hope. Reason 9. The self. The ninth and final reason brings us to Jung's most profound concept, the self. The self is the central archetype of the psyche, the organizing core of the personality, and the ultimate goal of individuation. It represents the totality and unity of the conscious and unconscious. When a man meets someone who connects him to this essential core, perhaps through deep conversations, authentic moments, or experiences that make him feel fully alive and present, that person becomes a bridge to his self. There's no connection more powerful. Before sleep, when the ego's defenses soften and the unconscious speaks more freely, he reflects on these moments of authentic connection. He's not just thinking of you as an external person, he's processing how, through you, he's glimpsed his essential being. Jung believed finding someone who helps us connect with ourselves is one of life's greatest gifts. Not mere love or attraction, but a soul-level recognition, a resonance at the level of essence. These pre-sleep thoughts are an unconscious gratitude for such a rare, precious connection. These 9 reasons can operate simultaneously, weaving a complex web of thoughts and feelings. They're not separate categories, but interconnected facets of the masculine psyche, per Jung's vision. But what do these nocturnal thoughts really mean? Do they always signal deep love or a destined connection? The answer, as with all things Jungian, is complex. These thoughts indicate a significant connection, yes, but they don't necessarily predict a relationship's future. Jung taught that the real work begins when we recognize these unconscious dynamics and bring them into conscious awareness. A man who simply follows these thoughts without questioning or integrating them may fall into patterns of idealization or disillusionment. Conscious recognition of these forces enables an authentic, mature relationship. And here's where your power comes in. Understanding these psychological processes allows you to engage with men from a place of greater awareness and compassion, not to manipulate, but to create spaces where both of you can grow toward the wholeness Jung saw as life's ultimate purpose. Jung taught that all meaningful relationships are opportunities for soul growth. When a man thinks of you before sleep, it's not just because he likes or is attracted to you. It's because you're helping him piece together the puzzle of his own existence. Isn't that what we all seek? Not just to be loved for our appearance or what we offer, but to be recognized on a deeper level, to be a catalyst for someone else's self-discovery while discovering ourselves in the process. Jung believed true love happens when two people support each other's individuation, when the relationship becomes a space for psychological and spiritual growth. It's not about completing the other or meeting all their needs, but about walking together toward wholeness, acknowledging both light and shadow. If you're experiencing this deep connection with someone, Jung would urge you to explore it with courage and honesty, for it's in such relationships that the true magic of transformation occurs. Reflect on your own life. Is there someone who truly sees you, helping you uncover hidden parts of yourself? Or are you playing that role for someone else? These are the questions Jung would invite us to ponder, for they hold the secret to our growth. Jungian psychology illuminates aspects of our relationships we often overlook. These processes are constantly at play, yet we rarely recognize them consciously. Still, they're so powerful they can shape our romantic lives, drawing us repeatedly to certain people or situations. Jung taught that the first step towards psychological freedom is recognizing these patterns. Only by understanding the unconscious forces driving us can we relate to them consciously and constructively. So if a man thinks of you before sleep, and perhaps you think of him too, consider that you might be part of an archetypal dance as old as humanity itself. It's not just chemistry or compatibility, it's a soul's call to growth and wholeness. But, as Jung always cautioned, the real work begins beyond initial fascination. It's easy to get caught in the magic of these deep connections, forgetting their ultimate purpose, to help us integrate and grow as individuals. True love, from a Jungian perspective, doesn't make us dependent on another, but helps us become our fullest, most authentic selves. It challenges us to face our shadows, integrate our opposites, reclaim our projections, and walk toward wholeness. That's perhaps the greatest lesson from these reflections on why a man thinks of you before sleep. Not just knowing you're on his mind, but understanding why and how that connection can serve both your higher purposes. The journey toward individuation, toward becoming who you truly are. Jung would remind us that all our relationships are mirrors, showing us different facets of ourselves. When we find someone who reflects both our light and shadow, who accepts us fully and inspires us to grow, we found something truly precious. So the next time you feel a deep connection with someone, recall Jung's teachings. Ask yourself, what is this person showing me about myself? How are they helping me grow? And how can I support their journey of self-discovery? For as Jung knew, the deepest love isn't about losing ourselves in another, but finding ourselves through them. That, dear friends, is truly magical, a connection that transcends the physical and temporal, touching the soul and leaving an indelible mark. As you reflect on these 9 reasons, Remember that the true power lies not in using this knowledge to manipulate, but to understand and grow. Jung always emphasized bringing the shadow into the light, not to judge it, but to integrate and transform it. In that process, our relationships are both the mirror showing us who we are and the crucible where we become who we can be. If this resonates, share it with someone who might benefit from these insights. Sometimes understanding the psychological depths of our connections helps us appreciate and nurture them more consciously. And let me know your thoughts. Which of these 9 reasons struck you most? Have you experienced such deep connections in your life? Your voice matters, and together we can build a community committed to more conscious, transformative relationships. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of the human soul. Until next time, let's keep unraveling the mysteries of our psyche and learning to live with greater awareness, authenticity, and love. As Jung taught, life's purpose isn't merely to exist or survive, but to awaken and discover who we truly are. In that journey of self-discovery, our most meaningful relationships are both mirror and catalyst. So the next time someone occupies your thoughts before sleep, or you occupy theirs, consider that the universe might be creating a sacred space for two souls to meet, recognize each other, and help one another bloom into their deepest truth. For as Jung knew, that's the ultimate purpose of all our connections, to help each other become who we truly are.